Hello, everyone. There is a huge opportunity for Jasmy this year, 2025. Now, my last video, I dropped a bombshell for you guys, but on this particular one, we're going to address some things I think the overall community is simply not aware of. So, smash that like if you haven't done so already. Consider sticking to the end of the outline. There'll be chapters, watching 2x speed. You're going to want to hear this one because a lot of people aren't giving you this news. So, let's jump into it. First thing we have here is basically this.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
Icy Amphibian, our brother in the community, who can be followed over at Icy Amphibian, states to Hara, please reach out to Project Liberty and don't miss this opportunity. Project Liberty is building a consortium to basically purchase TikTok and architect, or re-architect, I should say, the platform to put people in control of their digital identities and data. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Kevin O'Leary, but it is what it is. He's excited to share that he's partnering with Frank McCourt and the visionary team over at Project Liberty to lead the people's bid, of course, for TikTok. This isn't just about buying TikTok's US assets, it's about something much bigger, protecting the privacy of 170 million American users. It's about empowering creators, small businesses, and it's about building a platform that prioritizes people over algorithms. So huge potential here, to say the least, right? And if anything, back to the whole thing of Icy Amphibian, does it better than anybody, in my opinion, when it comes to this. Are we really worthy of this info?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
I'll leave that up to you, but nonetheless, I think we are. And as we get more into it, let's go over to, for example, Project Liberty. And look at this for a second. Are you aware that there's this particular lady? It is Sheila Warren. She joins Project Liberty as Chief Strategy and Operations Officer and Chief Executive Officer of the Project Liberty Institute. Now, if you've been following Stronghold SHX, I did a deep dive about this lady and what she brings to the table. Here's one of the other highlights I want to point out for you guys. Sheila Warren has been a longtime friend of both Project Liberty and the principles that they're advancing. And also on top of it, she has experience and professional contributions to the decentralization and democratization of technology. It makes her uniquely qualified to help lead the crucial work happening at Project Liberty. All right, this sounds interesting. Well, what about this? Is her portfolio. She will play an active role in shaping key initiatives, including the people's bid to acquire TikTok, and she has expertise, of course, in blockchain technology. And if you choose to watch that deep dive in regards to Stronghold and the whole thing of where she addressed, for example, the Senate hearings a couple years ago, alongside with Danelle Dixon, I think it speaks volumes about her background. Yeah, unparalleled expertise in, blockchain, digital assets. You get the idea. All right, so what about the whole thing about Stronghold for just a brief moment? Well, Sheila Warren did a collaboration, believe it or not, with the one and only Tammy Camp of Stronghold. And of course, this is a while back, but again, I covered this. So again, like, this lady has been absolutely prolific in her stance in regards to blockchain innovation. As I take you over to projectliberty.io, I want you to see that Project Liberty builds solutions, like it says, to help people take back control of their digital lives by reclaiming a voice, choice, and stake a better internet. All right, this sounds familiar, does it not? Of course it does sound familiar. It's an alliance, or an alignment, I should say, with what Jasmy's trying to do. So Project Liberty Labs is developing an ecosystem of applications built on top of an inclusive data economy, putting users back in control. So again, it sounds very familiar what Jasmy's trying to do. Okay, what about this other thing about bringing together technologists, academics, policymakers, civil society, citizens to build a healthier tech ecosystem. Again, sounds like what Jasmy's trying to do. So as you get further into it, they have this bid for TikTok, and it says that Project Liberty is building a consortium to purchase TikTok and re-architect the platform to put people in control of their digital identities and data. I mean, this, in my opinion, is a huge opportunity for, of course, Jasmy. And as I get further into this, they have policy templates for the next 4 years. Again, you can appreciate that they took the time to write some of this out. All right. So again, the reason I was highlighting Sheila Warren, January 13, 2025, not that long ago. Okay. All right. What else we have in that regard? Well, if you go over to libertyglobal.com, you see the highlights in regards to data privacy protection. And even looking at some of these servers, right? I'm thinking to myself, wow, what if they could simply strike this deal, Jasmy, I should say, with Liberty Global for, again, think about it, a secure PC or secure server, or if anything, personal data lockers. So they're committed to doing business in a way that respects privacy and customers and employees. Again, everything you can think about when it comes to Jasmy. Now, here's a highlight I want to also get into. They adhere to General Data Protection Regulations, GDPR. Don't forget that, because it's going to make a lot of sense when we get further into the outline. Why? Well, you're going to see some things that are going to be really eye-opening. But before we do, here is one of Liberty Global's investors. It's Virgin Media O2. Now, that's interesting, because Virgin Media O2 really has a stance in the UK. Now, check this out. This gets really, really interesting. If you go to their financial results, they already have 45.4 million total mobile connections. All right. Well, think about it. That is more of trying to get to the goal of the KPI targets that Jasmy's been boasting since their white paper inception. And of course, they have momentum in fiber footprint, expansion, 5G. All these things are positive catalysts, right? But even on a basic search, here's where it gets really, really interesting. Because I brought up Quant in the past. Vodafone completes acquisition of European Liberty Global assets. And I'll show you a connection in regards to Vodafone and Quant here in a bit. But I think it's worth pointing out all this information, because when I get further into it, even from Ledger Insights, you see this highlight that dates back to December of 2023 about Hapag Lloyd Vodafone to adopt Deloitte public blockchain solution for container identity. And again, supply chain. And we know that Jasmy also is part of that mix of your XDCs and your VChains and whatnot when it comes to supply chain. So when I got further into this, it's this highlight I want to bring to you guys that says, turning to Vodafone as a blockchain and IoT joint venture with Sumitomo. Now, we understand when we get further into it that this is, deployed with solutions that was for airline and cargo pods, but in reality, it's so much more than that. Again, when we get further into it, on a basic search, what do you see in regards to Sumitomo? Mitsui Banking Corporation, formerly Sumitomo Bank, is in fact a partner with Jasmy, a Japanese organization that develops Internet of Things platforms. All right, been there, done that. But if you're new, this is big for you. Because when we get further into this, on another basic search, if you were to go to bitflyer.com, well, what's interesting is this platform, bitFlyer, is #1 in Bitcoin trade volume for 6 years in Japan. When we talk about getting Japan more towards that adoption, say what you want, bitFlyer does stand out. Well, what's some highlights? Where am I going? Where are you going with this, Max? Well, check this out. If you go over to the members section of bitFlyer, and you look at some key people, it gets really, really interesting. There's Naoto Hida. He's the head of president's office. He started his career as an IT engineer over at Vodafone. In 2011, he transferred to the CEO's office at SoftBank Group and contributed to the establishment of renewable energy company. All right, interesting. Okay, so what, Max? Why is that interesting? Well, Jasmy and of course SoftBank are connected through Masanobu Yoshida and SoftBank's investment in U.S. technology and artificial intelligence. Jasmy is a Japanese company that creates, of course, IoT platforms and cryptocurrency, Jasmy. Now, we understand that at this point, Masanobu Yoshida is more or less, at this point, like a person of reference, right? He retired a while back, but you know, they still kind of look to him for some advice and whatnot. So he does play a role still. But nonetheless, I wanted to bring that to you, especially if you're new. As I get further into this, I want to take you over to this next particular part of emphasis. Another person that's a member over at bitFlyer. You have Yuzo Kano, born in 1976, raised in Aichi Prefecture, graduated from Graduate School of Engineering at the Tokyo University, or University of Tokyo, I should say. After working for Goldman Sachs Securities Co. Limited, he co-founded bitFlyer Inc. in January 2014, representative director of the Japan Blockchain Association, and boil it, mash it, stick it in stew. Once again, he's a member of ISO TC 307, the Quant network standard. Interesting to see that. And also, we have to put some emphasis that he's a member of the executive committee of the basic plan for promoting the use of public and private data. Again, everybody, well-connected people that match the whole big picture and goal of what Jasmy is trying to do when it comes to get to mass adoption. All right, is that all we have? Well, again, your security is their priority. bitFlyer, born in Japan, raised in Luxembourg. And again, you can completely see, you know, their platform and what they're trying to do. You know, 3.8 million global email confirmed users. They have 6.9 billion global customer asset under custody. Global transactions volume for 2022. I mean, these are not some small run-of-the-mill outfit, right? They're definitely a big platform, especially in Japan. So that's a win moving forward. As we get further into this, if you go to the People's Bid, they have an initiative to have everybody try to, you know, join the bid to not ban TikTok, instead to fix it. Well, think about this. Jasmy can help fix this too. This is a massive opportunity. I can't agree more with Icy Amphibian. As we get further into this, well, how do you join the bid? Well, for one, like it says, you could spread the word. You could download the tool to promote the People's Bid in your communities. Well, if you're on X, that's a community. If you're on Rob Crypto Futures channel, that's an opportunity. Any social media network, that's an opportunity. But how about this? I'm going to tell you flat out what to do on this. If you choose to do this, don't just type in, you know, like what it says right here in regards to, you know, hashtag the People's Bid. Also add hashtag Jasmy. Get the word out there, for crying out loud, right? All right, getting further into this is this. Again, it's just taking the initiative if you choose to do so. You know, I get it. Not everybody wants to download all this stuff, but still, you can share this to TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook, you know, for example, LinkedIn, right? So there's that, right? And of course, if you choose to do so, you can share the story, blah, 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 right? All right, getting further into this, I want to point some emphasis. A while back, I did post Sui a video. And of course, I don't cover Sui all the time, but it did take off, right? Well, what are some of the biggest driving factors to cause it to take off? Well, Sui blockchain partnered with TikTok's subsidiary Byte Plus to explore Web3 gaming apps. Well, I'll state this. Even like things like, you know, the Byte meme coin, just honorable mentions can cause things to drive. We know that, even though there might not be a lot of utility there or none. That's a real thing. But whatever the case be, this was posted April 7th or 17th, 2024. I remember covering this, and we've seen Sui really take off. All right, that's in regards to exploring Web3 gaming ops, and again, the TikTok plug. All right, check this out. What about Jasmy right around that time? Well, a month earlier, same type of scenarios. Jasmy partnered with Panasonic to launch Web3 Internet of Things platform. I did numerous deep dives over a couple of years in regards to Jasmy and Panasonic long before it was announced. And look at this, March 26, 2024. So there's, you know, again, common ground here. As we also see, if you look back at the chart, what do you see here? Literally, right before these announcements, you know, in regards to Panasonic and so on, of course, Jasmy really started taking off. You know, and of course we saw as much as close to, was it almost 6 cents, 5.8 cents. Now, of course, the last part wasn't necessarily due to Panasonic, but before that, wow, it sure was. Getting more further into this, I just want to confirm some things for you. Shout out to Neo X Tricks at Bana A17. Jasmy has received the certification for Japanese privacy mark, which is called JUAS, a well-recognized framework in Japan for data protection and secure information management. He goes on to elaborate here. The distinction awarded by the Japanese Users Association of Information Systems is called JUAS, confirms that Jasmy complies with the strict standards set by Japan's personal information protection law. You can appreciate that Jasmy took the time to get this stuff done. But here's another thing. This implements exemplary practices to ensure data confidentiality and security. So I blow this up for you, I want you to see some key things. And that is, list of businesses that have been awarded the JUAS privacy mark as of January 14, 2025. Again, this is new for everybody. And you see some key ones here. If anything, do you see Jasmy listed? And the answer, of course, is yes. And of course, lists is like their location and so on. So been there, done that. And if anything, you know, interesting to see some of this, right? All right, well, check this out for a second. As we get further into this, I want to explain some key things with you. And that is this. This is just some notes for you guys. So when we talk about the whole thing of JUAS and, you know, some of these privacy marks in Japan, well, what does it signify? What is significant in regards to that? Well, it's consumer trust. Again, I point this out numerous times. You could have all the internet of value in the world, but if you don't have the trust, you don't have squat. So would this demonstrate to consumers moving forward that the company takes data privacy seriously? Well, of course. Does it show that they have implemented robust measures to safeguard their personal information? Yeah. Would this build trust and encourage consumers to do business, I should say, of course, with Jasmy? Well, yeah, absolutely. Will this give Jasmy a competitive advantage versus the competition in today's data-driven world? Yeah. Would it mean that the privacy mark could differentiate a company from its competitors and attract customers who prioritize their data security? Yes. And these are all things that are critical for pitching. If you're Hara, and I respect Hara, if you're trying to pitch yourself to, obviously, Liberty, right? Project Liberty, moving forward. So, is there legal compliance? Well, while that's not mandatory, obtaining a privacy mark definitely aligns Jasmy in regards to Japan's personal information protection law. And let's face it, in the past, we saw that Jasmy was the first to be regulatory compliant in Japan, hence why it's called the Bitcoin of Japan. Not literally, but it's an analogy. So, moving forward, in essence, JUAS privacy mark, don't get it twisted. It serves as a valuable indicator of a company's commitment, of course, to data privacy. And you better believe there's going to be multiple benefits attached to that. As I take you further into this, I want to put some emphasis on something else that should at least kind of raise your eyebrows. And that is this. If you go to secureprivacy.ai, you see that ISO 27001 and GDPR are fundamentally different frameworks, but they share a lot of common principles in relation to, of course, data protection. Now, why bring this up? Well, it's because if you're new, you will know that when it comes to Jasmy, they are ISO 27001 certified. And of course, they got that certification, what was it, back last spring, give or take, or maybe summer. Again, don't quote me on that, but I did cover it numerous times. And that was with ISMS. So that was a big deal moving forward. Because what? Standards. Standards do mean quite a few things. If anything, even on your iPhones, that little socket that you plug your cord into, that standard changed moving forward. Absolutely. As we get further into this, I want to take you to this next part. And of course, this is where we really pound it home again with Quant. Sometimes people don't want me to mention this for whatever reason. Hey, guess what? I'm going to cover the news as I see it. And look what it says. This comes from boj.or.jp. This is literally from the Bank of Japan. And just to show you, there it is. Look what we have here in regards to all this. We see here that there's a liaison system. And in that liaison system, you see that ISO TC307, the Quant network standard, boil it, mash it, stick it in the stew, once again, it is responsible for the standardization of blockchain electronic distributed ledger technology. Does it mention Japan Max? It does. The Secretariat of the Domestic Deliberative Organization is the Japan Information Technology Promotion Association. What? JIPDEC, a general incorporated foundation. Now this gets really, really interesting, does it not? Because when we get further into this, well, even when it comes to Jasmy standard, they're part of ISO IEC, and of course IEC 27001. As we take you further into this, remember how we just mentioned from literally the one and only NeoX about JUAS? Listen to this. This is from ROSY-Japan.com. Certification and Registration Organization, Japan Users Association of Information Systems, the JUAS as reference from NeoX. Look at the certification body. I know you guys get tired of me saying bullet mash to stick in the stew, but there it is. Stick that in the stew once again. Japan Information Technology Promotion Association is JIPDEC. So that's how we link that up in regards to the Quant network standard. And I get it. Maybe guys like Hara is not fully aware of Quant, but I think after talking about it for a couple years, I think he's looked more into it by now. I would hope so. But if he hasn't, that's okay too. All right. What about the stance from Project Liberty 5 days ago? Listen to this. We're going to play roughly about, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes of this. And then when we get to the key area, I'll pause it and share you how we connect this to something that's really, really big and a huge opportunity moving forward for Jasmy. Project Liberty, TikTok bid, putting the people in charge. Does this sound familiar? Well, you'll know where we're going with this here in a bit. Smash that like, by the way, if you haven't done so, if you appreciate the content. I really appreciate it. Here we go.
Why is Project Liberty and your consortium the right owners if indeed ByteDance says it will divest?
Yeah, hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
Good. It's. I think we're the right buyers because we have put all the pieces together. We have the funding. We've worked through all the legal issues. We put a formal offer, as you point out, right in front of ByteDance, so they have something now to react to. And most importantly, we have the clean American tech stack to move the user base over to, and we don't need or want the Chinese algorithm. And so I think that the algorithm is something that China is very, very beholden to, and has said clearly that they're not going to be selling it. We don't need it or want it, as I point out. So I think we're a particularly unique bidder and well positioned. And I think, as a matter of fact, we are the leading bidder right now.
We were just seeing some of the share price reactions of rivals out there. From your reading into what's happening in Washington right now, does it look to be going in the favor you'd want to see? Because would you actually like a delay to proceedings to be able to go forward with a bid?
Well, we'd like to buy U.S. TikTok. That's what we'd like to see as an end result, and move the user base over to this clean American stack. And I think that it's no surprise that the argument is going well for the government, because this is a real national security issue, a strongly bipartisan piece of legislation that was passed by Congress, upheld by the appellate court. So I think the conventional wisdom is that the government's position will be upheld, the legislation will stay in effect, which means on January 19th, ByteDance has to decide, are they going to shut it down or sell? And in order to sell, they need to enter into an agreement, which is why we put a formal offer in front of them in the last 24 hours.
What is the price tag of that formal offer?
So what we've said to ByteDance is we're not going to be talking about terms of the deal until we get into a formal conversation with them. And we want to be very, very respectful of ByteDance because it's a very sensitive time here. We know they're arguing in front of the Supreme Court. We've given them space to do that. And at the point in time where we engage in an active negotiation, we'll be happy to share details once we sort things with them.
Have you spoken to any of the current investors in ByteDance who are United States-based, General Atlantic, Susquehanna? We also know that Sequoia is involved, KKR, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there are, and I believe we've spoken to all of them, and they've indicated an interest in rolling over their investment. Why not? I mean, they don't want to lose their entire investment in U.S. TikTok. We've put a real proposal forward, which gives them value for U.S. TikTok. Having said that, they too are waiting to see what ByteDance decides to do before committing.
I'm really interested in the fact that investors are interested in rolling over. What value will you accrete for the business going forward? Because you want, as you've articulated, a totally different tech stack. How will that change the use of TikTok? How will you monetize it as well? Because you want a different form of social media. You don't want us as content for the ultimate users and being advertised against.
Let's talk about that for a moment. So monetization, think about it. If you study Jasmy, you know where we're going with this. This will bring you to this next particular part. Shout out to securities.io. All right, why? Well, just jumping straight to the point, you will see that the critical aspect of Jasmy's ecosystem development, well, it's basically this, everybody. It's the focus on creating user-centric services. These services are designed to empower users with control over their data and to provide tangible benefits from participating in the ecosystem. What do we have in regards to monetization? Well, data monetization opportunities. Jasmy enables users to monetize their data by providing controlled access to it in exchange for Jasmy tokens or other incentives. This mechanism not only rewards users for their participation, but also encourages the generation of high quality consent-based data for businesses and, of course, researchers. There's a whole grocery list more. You guys know about this for the most part if you've been in Jasmy for a while. All right. This last part in regards to billionaire investor Frank McCourt discussing his hard bid for TikTok. Literally yesterday, another update. Listen to this. We'll come right back.
How much are you and your partners willing to spend on TikTok?
What we've said in to ByteDance is we're going to keep the terms of our offer confidential. However, I have been fairly public about what we think it's worth, and that's
$1 million.
$20 billion.
Sorry.
$20
$billion. Gentlemen, silence.
Or $20 billion. So again, another update, and you're welcome to check out the whole thing. Now check this out. I did mention the whole thing of Quant. You have to see it for yourself. This is one of the main highlights and reward for sticking to the end of the outline. How so? Well, it's make integration of the Overledger. Now, we talked a lot about TikTok, okay? And we also mentioned some things about GDPR. Check this out for yourself. So pull this up on your screen. I want you to see this because seeing sometimes, let's face it, is believing. And as I pull this up for you, I've already taken the liberty of orchestrating some of this for you. What do you see? Well, basically some of the key things here. And that is this. So what do we first see? You see from Overledger, all right? This whole thing from make.com, and you're welcome to make a free account if you choose to do so. TikTok lead forms kicks it over to the Overledger to make an API call. The Overledger kicks it over to TikTok to generate a report. TikTok then kicks it back over the Overledger to prepare, yes, you read that right, a smart contract transaction. Then Overledger kicks it back to TikTok for another event. Now, since we were talking about GDPR, TikTok sends that conversation over in the form of a text message in GDPR format. Remember how I talked about that earlier and the significance about that? All right, down to ISO to convert to the specific country. Now, we were talking about China then. Well, even for this example, you see the code OCN, which is China. All right, well, in this case, we want to convert this in the smart contract to something like, for example, US dollars or stablecoin. We'll kick it over to Circle to make an API call. And then last but not least, kicking it down to Overledger to sign a transaction. Yes, a smart contract transaction. This is orchestration at its finest, and there you go. Once again, boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew. I think this is a huge opportunity moving forward for Jasmy, but they simply need to do it. But you know what? Sometimes you don't see what is published out there. But if it was me, I think Hara is paying attention to all of this. And if anything, this will be the second time we'll give him a shout out and tag him. I'll put this out there on X as well to make sure he sees this along with Icy's. So does he deliver? I don't know. Well, maybe we'll never know. But pay attention to specific dates. I know some people say it's buy the rumor, sale the news. But if you see price action for Jasmy for no reason at all, maybe you can use Icy and the material presented as a reference. So if you listen to this entire outline, simply do me a favor and type this into the comments. And that is Icy, as an icy amphibian. And we'll know that you listened to the entire outline. Really appreciate you guys listening to these outlines. As the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. We'll see you on the next one.